So this white man posted a picture of his, like clearly non-black son. Like before y'all even see the son, think to yourself, can a white person have a black child unless they adopt one? Can a white person have a biological black child? Like clearly not, right? That doesn't make any sense. But some of y'all are gonna be in the comments, well, if you have one black parent or one drop of black, y'all finna get started. But anyway, this white guy posted a picture of his off-white son and said, "My son Jalen was just elected the next president of the Black Student Union at College of Charleston. Proud of you, son." And y'all, come on now. Honestly, I really do feel like y'all be doing this on purpose. I do. Because I legitimately don't think that y'all are actually this obtuse. I don't think so. I think that you all are making a point, right? Because this is my thing. Let's pretend that this white man had posted his son, right? And instead of saying that he just become the president of the Black Student Union, say that his son had become the president of the White Student Union. Would that make any sense at all? And some of y'all about to be in the comments, there's no white student union. Ugh, black privilege, so and so and so. Okay, that's not the point. Let's pretend there was a white student union. Could this dude be the president of it? Probably not, because he's clearly not white, right? But somehow he's the president of the Black Student Union despite clearly not being black. And you know what? Honestly, I can't even be mad at white people. Now, don't get me wrong. Clearly, they're the ones who started the one drop rule and all this nonsense, right? But I can't be mad at them because it's really black people's fault for embracing it and upholding it. Why on earth would a non-black person be the president of the Black Student Union? Who voted for this dude? Who allowed this, right? White people would never, ever, ever allow this. They would never allow a non-white person to represent them at all in any capacity, right? And that's why biracials are not allowed to step into whiteness in the way that they are allowed to step into blackness, right? Because white people would never play with biracials the way that black people do. Y'all want to know what I think is a particularly funny example of this? I think it was the movie How to Train Your Dragon. I think it was that, right? So the girl that they casted was a white woman, okay? She has a white daddy and a biracial mama, right? This is a white woman. But white people were calling her black. Like, when I saw this, I was like, what? Because I didn't know who her parents were at the time. So I'm just looking at a picture of her. I'm like, this is a white woman with braids. What are we talking about here, right? Turns out she is a quarter black, right? And that's why white people are calling her black, okay? Anyway. Come to find out, right, that her white percentage is whatever background that the characters in How to Train Your Dragon are supposed to be, right? So if they're supposed to be Scandinavian or whatever, then that is what she is 75% of, right? And everybody was like, why are y'all mad that she got cast in this movie when she's the only one with Scandinavian heritage, right? Like all the other white folks in the movie do not even have Scandinavian heritage. Y'all got random white people portraying these people. She's the only one who is actually, ethnically correct, right? And y'all are mad about it. And I thought this was funny. Because even though that girl is more Scandinavian than she is black, still white people were calling her a black person. Like, what? Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it was the How to Train Your Dragon movie that this was about. I don't think it was Snow White. It was one of those movies, right? But anyway, right? I'm calling this out because white people looked at somebody who was 75% white and 25% black and called her black, right? Even though she clearly looks white, right? Ain't nothing black about her, okay? They still sitting here calling her black, right? But on the other hand, you will come across black people who will do the same exact thing. They'll see somebody 75% white and call them black. And you gotta stop to think, well, why is that, right? A lot of black people will try to convince you that the reason that they adhere to the one drop rule is because blackness is the dominant gene. Blackness is stronger, therefore it's so and so and so, yada, 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 right? But that's not really why they adhere to the one drop rule. That's not why at all, right? Because how can you look at the child of a white person, right? And pretend that they represent you at all in any way, right? And that's being very generous with y'all. That's being very generous, saying the child of a white person, right? A lot of times, y'all will look at people who are not even just biracial, right? Y'all will look at literal, like, white people. Like, Drake's son is literally white. Drake, the rapper, is half white and half black. His baby mama is white. That child is white. And y'all will sit there and be talking about, yeah, well, black to come in all shape, black to be diverse. How can you look at somebody literally white and pretend that they are black at all in any capacity? And again, these people will try to lead you to believe that they're doing it because they believe blackness is the best and it's strong and it overpowers everything. But that doesn't make any sense. Let's say that I wanted to buy a gold bar from somebody, like solid gold, right? And they tried to sell me a bar that was 50% gold and 50% something cheap, right? Do y'all think that if I really think to myself, gold is better, gold is strong and powerful, we can overpower anything, right? Do y'all really think I'll be like, okay, well, gold is the dominant metal, so I'll take this bar that's half cheap shit and pay you full gold prices for it? Do y'all think that I would do that? That makes no sense. That makes no sense. The fact that I know that gold is the dominant metal means I want some actual motherfucking gold, okay? Like what are you saying? What, right? And I'm going to use this same logic with people, right? If you really thought that blackness was beautiful and this and that and so and so and so, why wouldn't you embrace actual blackness? Why would you be sitting there talking about, oh yeah, this person who's not black, this is the phenotypic diversity of blackness because blackness is the dominant and I love blackness so much? That's oxymoronic. It makes no sense. You telling me that you're so pro-black, right? That the hill that you choose to die on is, oh, blackness is beautiful. That's why I worship the image of white people's kids. Because blackness is the dominant gene. So white people's kids is still black. And yeah, even though I'm worshiping white folks' kids, I'm still worshiping black beauty. Like, that does not make any sense, bro. That does not make any sense. You all cannot convince me that you all are doing this because you view blackness as superior. You're doing it because you view blackness as inferior. Quite frankly, biracials are the image of what you wish blackness was. You hate the way that actual blackness looks. So you pretend that white people's kids are black and represent you at all in any capacity so that you can pretend that your worshiping of them is not anti-black and self-hating as fuck. You will never, ever, 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 ever catch white people pretending that biracials are white. You will never see white people look at a biracial person and say, yes, that's the phenotypic diversity of whiteness. You will never see that. You will never see that. But you see black people do that dumb shit all the time. Why is that? I wonder why it is that biracials don't represent white people at all ever in any capacity, but they represent black people in every capacity. I wonder why it is every time you look up the first black person to do ABC or XYZ, I don't know, golly gee willikers, maybe Google the first black president, right? It's always a biracial. But whenever you Google the first white person to whatever, it's never a biracial. Why is that? Is that just happen chance? I don't think that's happen chance because this is my thing, right? If biracials were really black, okay, you all pretend that we are all the same and that I am simply being divisive when I say something like this, right? If biracials were really black, then shouldn't it be a toss-up? Sometimes a biracial person is the first black to whatever, and sometimes a black person is. In fact, wait, okay, again, let's pretend that biracials are black, right? Biracials probably make up only, let's say, 5% of black people, right? So 95% of the time, and I'm just throwing these statistics out here, okay? I don't know the actual numbers, right? If biracials were 5% of black people, right? Then 95% of the time, the first black person to do something should be an actual black person, right? Only 5% of the time should it be a biracial person, right? But that's not the case. That's not the case. 99% of the time, the first black person to do anything is a biracial person. And again, I'm kind of lost because I don't think that's just happening by chance. Now, I think that there's two possible options here, right? The first option is maybe biracials are just so much more, hardworking and smarter than black people. So they just, they tend to be the first black everything so and so and so's, right? That's the first option. Do y'all think that's what it is? Because I don't think that's what it is, right? I think it's the second option. And the second option is that biracials are not black and everybody motherfucking knows it, right? So even though folks are sitting here pretending that biracials are black, we all know they aren't. And because they aren't, they are afforded privileges in this white supremacist society that actual black people are not. I mean, is that really such a long shot that the child of a white person would have privileges over an actual black person in a white supremacist society? I don't think that that's that far-fetched at all. Look all throughout black history. All of the upper societies of black people were a bunch of biracials for the most part, a bunch of multi-generationally mixed people. And again, do you think that's because they were just so much more smarter and hardworking and so and so and so? Or do you think that that's because they were afforded privileges in this white supremacist society that actual black people were not? And I watched a movie a couple years ago that I really suggest you all watch, right? It was called The Chevalier, right? And it was about they call him the Black Mozart, but we all know biracials are not black, so I'll be calling him the biracial Mozart, right? His father was a white enslaver man, and his mother was an enslaved African woman, right? So this dude was born biracial, and his father shipped him off to France to study, okay? First of all, do you think any black folks was getting shipped to France to study and be big shot, whatever, violinists, virtuosos? No, okay? But whatever, let's not even get into that, right? The important part that I'm going to go into for this video is the fact that when this man was an adult, he was granted this fancy schmancy title, the Chevalier, right? Now, it was stated in this movie that black people could not have the title Chevalier. So hold up, wait a second. I thought biracials was black. How did he get this fancy schmancy title that black people can't have if he was a black man? Hold up, what? Oh, Lord. So anyway, the Chevalier, he was always hanging around white society because realistically, as a biracial person, what do black people have to offer you? Be for real. In a white supremacist society, what can black people offer you, right? Black people are beneath you on the racial hierarchy, right? So biracials in general tend to hang around white people because they're trying to climb the ladder of white supremacy, right? So the Chevalier, he was always hanging around white society, and he ended up liking this one white woman, right? And he wanted to marry her, but he was told that he could not, okay? He could not marry a white woman. But then he was told that if he married a black woman, he would lose that fancy title of Chevalier because, again, black people can't have this title. So if he marries a black woman and has majority black kids, the title is now officially basically being given to black people, right? So they did not delve into this in the movie from what I recall, right? But in real life, what do you think somebody in his position would have done, right? He's barred from marrying a white woman because he's not white, right? But if he marries a black woman, he's going to lose that fancy Chevalier title. So what do you think that he would do? He would marry another biracial person, clearly, right? That way he gets to keep his privilege in society and everything is good. All is well that ends well, right? And this is what happened in real life time after time after time again. Biracials were aware of the privileges that they held over actual black people, so they married other biracials and created entire multi-generationally mixed families, and they became the upper society of blackness, right? Not because they worked so hard or were better than black people or whatever, right? But because their proximity to whiteness afforded them privileges that black people didn't have. Black people couldn't get this title of Chevalier, but he could. Oh, but I thought we were all black and all equally oppressed in this white supremacist system, huh? Now, let me get back to Chadsworth. Posting this picture of his son talking about, yeah, Chadsworth Jr. became the president of the Baboon Student Union, my totally doodly. Can we be for real for a second? Again, I refuse to believe that people are this obtuse. I believe that biracials and white people know exactly who biracials are and their position in this white supremacist system, and they are playing the game. I refuse to believe that these people really think that they're black people or that they, whatever, right? I refuse to believe this. I believe that these people know that they're agents and they're willing participants in this system. I really do think so. Something I've said before when white people are downplaying racism and talking about, oh yeah, totally like white men are the most victimized in society. You know, nonsense like that, right? Something I've said before on YouTube is you live in the same world as me. So there's no way you see all of this stuff going on around you and you just manage to believe that white people are the victims of racism. There's no way you believe that, right? You gotta be playing in my face, okay? And that applies to this situation as well. There is no way that you live in the same reality as me and you really finna sit here and pretend that somebody who looks like him is going through the same stuff as somebody who looks like me. There is no way. Like, this is a joke. You gotta be playing in my face.